What's up guys? In this video, I'm gonna give you the most comprehensive step-by-step tutorial on how to ship product from China to the United States. If you're a small business owner, entrepreneur, Amazon FBA seller, this is your ultimate how-to guide to smooth sail your product from China to the United States without a glitch, and you can start to make money. Let's get started. Let's go guys, we have a lot to cover today. How to ship product from China to the United States, step-by-step tutorial. By the way guys, once you learn this entire shipping process, you can apply it to any of your import business. It could be China, India, or Vietnam. The shipping process is pretty much the same. Country-specific requirement may be different, but shipping process is pretty much the same. So once learned, you're definitely good to go. Wow. Okay, this is the 5,000-degree overview of the entire shipping process. Don't be overwhelmed, guys. To ship any product, to move any shipment, there are only 4 points. Point of pickup, port of departure, it could be airport or ocean port, port of arrival, it could be your airport or any ocean port, and finally the point of delivery. In between the A, B, and C, D, these 4 touch points, there are 3 steps. The step number 1 and 2 are most heavy lifting. In the step number 1, you need to make a lot of decisions. In the step number 2, there are a lot of documents need to be in place in order for the shipment to be cleared. So in the decision-making process, you need to decide what shipping term you're going to use, what transportation mode you're going to use, either air or ocean, to get free quotes, compare free quotes, and finally to find and select a carrier or a forwarder you feel most comfortable with to move your shipment. So once your product get loaded either on the airplane or in the ocean container, now you can get ready to have all these documents prepared, the commercial invoice, packing list, any product certifications required, and establish the bond, either single bond or continuous bond with the U.S. Custom, and determine your harmonized code in order for you to pay the duty correctly. And once the shipment is cleared, either from the airport or the ocean port, now you can just simply decide where to send the shipment to, either directly to Amazon warehouse, your home, or even to a third-party logistic company or a warehouse to do prepping or maybe bundling or labeling. All that. During this step 3, I will share a little tip on how to save money on picking the inland carrier to deliver from the airport or the ocean port to the final destination. The question number 1 under step number 1 is, what shipping term should I use? The shipping term I'm referring to are Incoterms, international commerce terms. There are 11 Incoterms. These 11 Incoterms define shipping cost and risk transfer. Don't be overwhelmed, guys. When you look at these 11 Incoterms from E to D, you can group them into 4 groups. Each group representing seller responsibility level. Under group E, the seller responsibility ends at the factory. Under the group F, any of the FCA, FAS, FOB you may have heard of, seller responsibility ends at the departure port, and the group C ends at the arrival port, and the group D, meaning the seller responsibility or the supplier responsibility, ends at the destination. What I need to point out, guys, is a lot of people use Incoterm incorrectly. What you should do is, when you talk about your shipping term, is FOB, you need to name a place. For example, if you're exporting out of a Ningbo port, it should be FOB Ningbo. That will make a complete Incoterm. Otherwise, you will leave it open. It's just like saying FOB what? FOB Shenzhen port, FOB Qingdao port. These ports are so far apart. So you need to name exactly which port you are exporting. out of 11 Incoterms. As a small business owner, you should at least know 3. Ex work factory. This means you should know by now the seller has a very minimal. The basic responsibility they have is to put your product on their dock, ready for you to pick up. You should be responsible not only pick up the shipment, pay for the freight of delivering that to the port, and pay for export declaration, duty, cost. Everything is on you. FOB name a port name, for example, FOB Ningbo. That means free on board. What does the free mean? Meaning seller is responsible to deliver your product to Ningbo port, and they need to pay the export declaration fees, tax and duty owed to the Chinese custom. So the product is free and clear on the ship for you to export. And the DDP, name a place, basically is deliver duty paid to. We can also call this two-door price, meaning deliver duty paid to my door, any door you name. So under the DDP term, everything is on seller. This is exact opposite of the ex work factory term. Seller responsible for nothing, and DDP is seller is responsible for everything. As you can see from this group chart, seller responsibility progressively increase as they go from E to D. So just by looking at this, you should get a good understanding of each of the Incoterm. And if you wanted to look at the details of the Incoterm, you can take a look of this page. This defines where the seller responsibility ends by each term. I'm not going to go over this in detail. As you can see, X work, the seller responsibility ends at their factory warehouse, ready for you to pick up, and the FOB term, seller responsibility, ends at the ship rail. It's already past the custom clearance, and the DDP is all the way to the destination. It could be your door, your warehouse, your company. Okay, the question number 2 is, what shipping mode should I choose? Before we talk about either air shipping or ocean shipping, let's talk about the chargeable weight or dimensional weight. The reason chargeable weight or dimensional weight exists is because if you're shipping a whole airplane of a feather, something extremely light but bulky, the airlines is not going to charge you the minimum 50 kilos of a weight. They're going to charge you more. So if dimensional weight is more than the actual weight, they will charge you dimensional weight. To calculate dimensional weight, there's 2 ways. You can use the total volume in centimeter divided by 6,000, or you can use the total volume in cubic meter and times the factor of 167. It sounds complicated, but it's quite simple. Let me give you an example. If you wanted to pause the video and go through the math here, feel free to do that. I'm going to walk you through it. Say you wanted to air freight 8 cartons, and the total 8 cartons weight is 450 kg, and each carton's dimension is 75 by 65 by 80 centimeters. They're the same box, total 8 cartons. The total volume of the shipment is 8 cartons times each carton's dim, and that gives you 3,120,000 centimeters, and this is equivalent to 3.12 cubic meters. To use the math here, if you are using the total volume in centimeter, that's 3 million centimeters, you can use a factor of 6,000. So you divide the 6,000 and that gives you 521 kg. Or you can use the method number 2. You get the cubic meter, 3.12, and you can time the factor of 167. That will give you the same result, 521 kg. So how much you're going to be charged? What weight the airline is going to use? The answer is 521 because 521 kg is more than your actual weight. Let's say if this is 421 kg, the airline is going to charge you 450, whichever is higher. So let's take a look at the air freight. There are two types of air shipment. One is shipped by Air Express. You're looking at the plane here, FedEx or DHL or UPS, and these carriers have a designated planes to move product from point A to point B. Another is air freight. You're basically looking at the cargo plane here. In order to book the cargo space, you need a forwarder. You really do need a forwarder to book the cargo space and ship air freight. In general, because the Air Express carriers have a designated plane and their transit time is a little bit faster than the freight, that make their air freight rate a little bit higher than the forwarder. The rule of thumb I use is when my shipment is less than 100 kg, I find that to ship Air Express is okay, but when my shipment load is more than 100 kg, I often find the free forwarder's quote is much better than the FedEx quote. So just to give you a point of reference. On the cost to air freight, either using Express or air freight, the average is about $6. And this per unit per kg cost varies so much. It depends on seasonality, depends on the total load weight, and it also depends on the transit time you want for your shipment. The transit time for the Air Express is 3 to 5 business days, and air freight is about 7 to 10 business days. I wanted to point out a time factor that could mean so much money here when you decide on the air freight shipping method, either Air Express or air freight. Obviously, if you ship Air Express, if you ship priority versus economy, it costs more. But mostly on the air freight side, if your shipment, you need to air your shipment. But if your shipment is not urgent, ask your forwarder to shop the slower schedule if there are schedules available. Instead of 3 to 4 or 5 days, maybe a day or two slower that can save you $300-500. Okay, let's talk about ocean shipping, guys. I know this is very boring. If you are tired, go get a cup of coffee, take a break, and pause the video and come back. Let's talk about ocean shipping. There are two types of ocean shipping. You can ship through the full container load. This is the 20-foot container. And if you're shipping 40-foot container, it's twice as long. And if you're shipping 40 high cube, and the ceiling is a little bit taller. Or you can ship less than container load. That's also called LCL. This is very important to understand, because for the small business owners, it's before you ramp up your business, your choice of shipping most likely is going to be between LCL or air. So it is very important to understand how the LCL rate works. So if you're shipping less than container load, you're basically renting a container space and sharing that with other people's product to ship through ocean. So because you're sharing the space, when it comes down to the port, you have to deconsolidate at the port. That's why LCL takes longer time to clear through custom, because there's different people's product in the container. It's very important to note that LCL doesn't necessarily is not necessarily cheaper than the air freight, because there are minimum charge for the space you're taking. Even though your load is very small, it's less than 1 cubic meter, the free forwarder will charge you at least minimum 2 cubic meter worth of space. If 1 cubic meter costs about $300, you will have to pay $500 to $600. And the LCL destination charge normally is very shocking. When people ship through LCL, when they get the bill, they were so shocked, because the labor involved to deconsolidate the container, to specifically pick up this few spools, it actually costs more money. And for LCL, to check the rate, I have 3 rules of thumb for you. If your load is less than 3 cubic meters, I would check the air freight cost. And if your LCL is taking up 10 cubic meters of space, I would definitely check the full container load rate. The full container load rate is flat rate and it's a little bit faster. It takes probably 30 days plus clearance to get it over to your destination. And if your LCL is taking up 15 cubic meters, definitely go with LCL. It's going to be cheaper than LCL rate. I list out the full container load, the space or the size needed for each of the container for you to plan the full container load when you get there. So just to have you fully grasp the difference between LCL and the air freight, LCL definitely it is cheaper. Like say if you are shipping a shipment is 150 kilograms. If you get an air freight quote, let's just use a factor of 6 per kg as an example, you might be paying $9,000 or $1,000. And if you're shipping ocean through LCL, you might be paying $600 to $700. But if the LCL is taking 40 days versus your air is only taking you 7 days, in between these 30 days, you may have a lot of lost sales. So keep that cost factor in mind. LCL is a good option, but only to a certain extent. Okay, guys, so you now know what does air shipping and ocean shipping involve. Let's get a quote, shall we? It's about time. If you have been following along, to get a shipping quote up to this point, it should be a piece of cake. First of all, if you are shipping through air express, either with FedEx or DHL, you don't need a freight forwarder. So to get a quote for your air freight or ocean freight, you need a forwarder. So what is a freight forwarder? They basically a professional shipping agent. They can book cargo space, consolidate your freight. They can help you to import and export with all these clearance process, and they can pay the tax and duty on your behalf. Of course, you have to pay them back, and they can deconsolidate the shipment and make the final delivery. Now, what information do you need to get them to give you a quote? First of all, you need to tell them what are the transportational mode you want, either air or ocean, or maybe you want to see the cost for both. Ask them to give you an air freight quote and also an LCL ocean freight quote. We mentioned this before. LCL ocean freight quote could be very close to air. And also the freight term, which is the in-quote terms. You can tell them this is export factory or FOB what, name your export port name, and give them the product description. This way they will know if this is a restricted product or hazmat product, just to get a general idea. Give them the weight and dimension of each carton, not just if they're different. You can say all cartons are the same weight and dim, and also the total count of the cartons, and tell them if this is palletized or they're loose cartons. And also you need to give them the pickup address, where it's going to be picked up either from the factory or the port. And finally, if you do have the first US delivery address, you need to share that with them. If you don't have a concrete delivery address yet, you can tell them which port you want this shipment to discharge. On the West Coast, you have LAX, Oakland, Seattle. In the middle part, you have Houston. East Coast, you have New York, New Fork. Just tell them where the port you wanted to discharge the load. Just keep in mind, to get a quote, the quote normally does not including the tax and duty. The reason is because they will need your product HTS code, the harmonized code, in order to determine the tax and duty rate. Keep this in mind when you compare quote. Some freight forwarder maybe give you a tax and duty rate based on the product description because they kind of generally know. Some maybe not including the tax and duty. Make sure when you compare the quote, they are apple to apple. Now, let's say if you have compared the quotes, you feel comfortable moving forward with one forwarder, what happens next? First thing need to happen is the power of attorney, which is to authorize your forwarder, their in-house licensed custom broker, to clear the goods on behalf of you. The custom broker are regulated by CBP, the Customs and Border Protection team. So you need to give them a power of attorney. Power of attorney, each forwarder has in-house broker and they have a standard form. You don't have to worry about, just sign and give them the information they need. Another thing I wanted to mention is the ISF filing. This is called Importer Security Filing. This filing must be done 24 hours before your shipment departs, and that has 10 key elements on there. You don't have to worry. Your forwarder will handle it, but you need to know this filing must be done on time. If it's late, the importer will have the penalty, and also a late filing will guarantee that customs will inspect your shipment because they didn't get any heads up that there's a shipment coming into the United States and there's a last minute shipment show up in front of their face. They will definitely want to know, and that could delay your shipment clearance. Let's just say you successfully contact the forwarder, get them book the space either through air or ocean. They filed the ISF and they got your shipment on board. You will get a bill of lading or airway bill. A bill of lading is a receipt issued by the ocean carrier, and the airway bill is the receipt issued by the airline. I wanted to mention this bill of lading here is because if you have not paid in full of your shipment to your supplier, let's say if you still owe your supplier money, they could hold the original bill of lading until you pay them in full, unless otherwise you won't be able to clear the shipment because the freight forwarder will need the original bill of lading to clear the shipment. But most of the time you're under 30% down, 70% upon shipping term. Most likely this bill of lading really doesn't matter at that point. So now, finally, we went through the entire step 1. We have learned the shipping term, which are the Incoterms. We have learned the air shipment, ocean shipment, and how to choose between air and LCL, compare quotes, and selecting the forwarder, gave them the necessary information. We're ready to move on to clear our shipment. This video is getting so long. Let's make it a part 1 of the shipping tutorial. If you have any shipping related questions, guys, feel free to ask the question in the comment below. I'll answer it. And if you like a copy of this presentation material, comment below too. I'll make sure the resource is available for you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you like the content, give me a thumb up and don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you will be the first one to get the part 2 of the video. See you guys soon.